Hello there. In this video, we are going to discuss the complete procedure in entering the Philippines. This video has two versions, an English version and a Filipino version. You are now watching the English version. If you want to watch the Filipino version, check out the comments section for the link. This is the compilation of all the things you need to know if you are flying to the Philippines. We will guide you through the most challenging steps, which is the pre-departure and check-in. Once you are on board, everything will be smooth. We will let you know what to expect once you arrive at the airport, and how are you supposed to go to your home. This video contains all the information that you need to understand. It could be overwhelming for some, but we tried our best to simplify and summarize everything. Because airline check-in staff will not be considerate even if it's just a tiny detail you missed out. Let's begin. Step 1. Pre-departure. Number 1. RT-PCR. Everyone who is 4 years old and above must show a negative RT-PCR test taken within 48 hours prior to the date and time of departure from the country of origin or first port of embarkation. It must be an RT-PCR test. And you must know that a COVID SARS-CoV-2 PCR test is always an RT-PCR test. We discussed all of these things in one of our previous videos. Any other tests will not be considered. Antigen and antibody tests will not be accepted. For foreign nationals, which includes former Filipinos, you will only be allowed to enter with a negative test result. Filipino nationals who have already recovered but are still testing positive, there is a special protocol for you, which we discussed in a separate video. The next rule about 48 hours RT-PCR test is this. Your flight must be a continuous travel to the Philippines to be able to exclude your layovers in your 48-hour window. It means, when you check in from your country of origin, or your first port of embarkation, if you get all your boarding passes, and your luggages are checked through from that first departure all the way to the Philippines, and you will just go directly to the transfer area of the airport during your layover, and are not forced to leave the airport premises. Your reference time is your country of origin or your first port of embarkation. Any time within that 48 hours window is valid. And outside of that is invalid. To make sure you don't get into any problem like delays, change of scheduled time of departure, make adjustments as necessary. Like maybe take it 36 hours or 24 hours before departure, depending on how logistically feasible this is for you. If you have an international connecting flight, the next two rules can be summarized into one. Make sure you are not going to clear the immigration of your transit country, whether intentional or unintentional. What are the unintentional cases? For example, during this pandemic, if you have a layover in Tokyo, Japan, transferring from Tokyo Narita Airport to Tokyo Haneda Airport will force you to enter Japan. Another example, if you have a layover in cities like Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, if you are arriving via Terminal 1, and you are departing via Terminal 2. These airport terminals are not connected.
You will have to go out of the airport to get your luggages and check it in again. In such a case, you will unintentionally enter Malaysia, and will be subjected to the quarantine protocols in Malaysia. For those with domestic flights, in which you get only your boarding pass for your domestic flight, and in which you have to self-check in again the luggages for your succeeding flights.
And get your boarding passes for your international flights. You must call whichever is your international flight carrier, like maybe Philippine Airlines, to verify your time reference. Number 2, the One Health Pass registration is required. The One Health Pass is the replacement to the Yellow Health Declaration checklist form, which we always fill out upon arrival in the Philippines. Because of the pandemic, it was replaced with an online system, the One Health Pass. Every time there is a new resolution, this question is always being asked. Do I need to register to the One Health Pass? The answer is this. IATF Resolution 135, dated August 26, 2021, adopts the usage of One Health Pass. It means that until a new resolution is made abolishing this requirement, the One Health Pass will always be required at all ports of entry in the Philippines. To register, just go to this website, www.onehealthpass.com.ph. You can access this using your desktop computers, laptop or any mobile devices. It is not a mobile app. To complete the One Health Pass EHDC, click this yellow icon which says EHDC. Do not be so worried about this registration, you will only need 5 to 10 minutes to complete this. Upon successful registration, you will get a QR code which you have to take a screenshot of. And you have to show that to the check-in counter staff. There are 2 ways to remember when to register. Number 1 is to just register upon receipt of your negative RT-PCR test result. This is the simplest. Number 2, if you worry about your 48-hour window, you may register within 3 days prior to your scheduled arrival in the Philippines. Then upon receipt of your negative test result, log into the EHDC using your QR code and last name. Then upload your RT-PCR test result, and take another screenshot of your QR code. Number 3 requirement, Trace app. The Trace app is required at all Philippine airports. You can download and activate this in just 5 minutes, if you will follow our tutorial video. The link to this will be in the comment section. Number 4, immigration documents. For Filipino citizens, your Philippine passport. For dual citizens, your foreign passport. If you want to avail of the Balikbayan privilege, you must prove your Filipino roots by presenting either your valid Philippine passport or your authentic birth certificate. If you don't have those documents with you, you have to present your proof of being a dual citizen. You may present your identification certificate or your citizenship retention or reacquisition certificate. Otherwise, you will be considered a foreign national. For former Filipinos, you are considered a foreign national. Bring your foreign passport valid for at least 6 months.
If you want to avail of the Balikbayan privilege, you must prove your Filipino roots by presenting either your valid or expired Philippine passport or your authentic birth certificate. As per IATF Resolution 160D, you don't need a return ticket, but you are required to present a travel insurance.
For EO408 nationals who are traveling with their Filipino or former Filipino spouse or parent, you are eligible to the Balikbayan privilege and will be given visa on arrival for a stay of 1 year. This is the 157 countries which are visa-free to the Philippines. This is very easy to remember. The EO408 countries include the entire North and South America except Cuba.
It includes the whole European Union, including the United Kingdom. It includes countries with big Filipino population like Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, and many more. Go to the link above to see the complete list. We will provide this in the description and comment box. You must present your foreign passport valid for at least 6 months before your arrival. To avail of the Balikbayan program, these documents will be asked from you to prove your affiliation with the Filipino citizen: birth certificate for children or adoption papers.
Marriage contract for spouse. Effective December 24, 2021, a Filipino and foreign spouse with same-sex marriage shall also be temporarily admitted. If these documents are not in English, then you must have a notarized English translation. Because you are traveling with your Filipino spouse or parent, you are eligible to the Balikbayan privilege. You do not need a return ticket. However, based on IATF 160D, you need to obtain, prior to arrival, a COVID-19 travel insurance with a minimum coverage of $35,000 for the duration of your stay in the Philippines. Please understand that the $35,000 is the coverage. This is not the premium you will have to shell out. Upon your arrival to the Philippines, tell the Bureau of Immigration that you want to avail of the Balikbayan program. If you are an EO408 national, traveling by your own, you are allowed to enter the Philippines and will be given a 30-day visa upon your arrival. Bring your foreign passport, which is valid for at least 6 months, before your arrival. You must present an outbound or return journey not later than 30 days from date of arrival in the Philippines until the day of departure. You also need a travel insurance. If you wish to use your 9A visa to enter the Philippines, bring your visa, your foreign passport, a travel insurance and your return ticket. If you want to use your 9I visa but you're traveling without your Filipino spouse or parent, you must have a notation. ED not required, per IATF Resolution Number 128 Series of 2021. If you wish to use your 9I visa to enter the Philippines and stay for more than 30 days, you need to secure an entry exemption document or EED from a Philippine foreign post in your country. The last category is for restricted countries. Nationals from these countries are required to secure a visa before boarding their flights to the Philippines. This is the list of countries that need a visa to enter the Philippines. It includes China, Egypt, India, Jordan, Lebanon, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, and 31 more countries. Aside from your visa, you have to get an entry exemption document, or EED, from the Philippine foreign post in your country. And a return ticket. During check-in, you will be asked to present all those pre-departure documents that apply to you. You also have to comply with the requirements of your country of origin. For example, in Saudi Arabia, you need this app to show your immune status. It is very important that you should have also checked the guidelines in your airline's website to check if they have additional requirements. For example, you will see there that if you are landing via Davao, you need to register in Safe Davao QR. For those landing via Clark or Subic, you will see the Red Cross or Dash Lab requirement or the Pad Lab requirement.
This is actually only for the unvaccinated, because these registrations are for the swab testing at the hotels. So what if you are fully vaccinated and the airline asks you about the Red Cross and Pad Lab registration? Understand that the airline staff at the check-in counter may not all be updated with what is happening in the Philippines.
In such a case, you may want to print out a copy of the latest IATF resolutions before going to the airport to show them that fully vaccinated passengers do not need to quarantine at the hotel, and thus are not required to register for the swab test. But actually, most of the time it is the airlines who will decide, and you will be forced to register. Otherwise, you risk yourself getting denied at boarding the aircraft. At this point, you have passed the most difficult pre-departure step. From here, everything will be smooth and systematic. This has been the testimony of those who have already arrived home. Upon your arrival, the Philippine authorities will give a briefing and instructions of what you need to do.
Passengers will have to go to their designated lanes, OFWs or non-OFWs. Then the Bureau of Quarantine or BOQ will check your One Health Pass QR code and verify your vaccination documents. Number 1, your vaccination document must be in the approved list. Number 2, the vaccine administered must be in the approved list.
Number 3, your last vaccine dose should be more than 2 weeks ago. Fully vaccinated passengers are not required to undergo facility-based quarantine in the Philippines, provided that you have all the approved and required documents with you. Now, this is the part that we don't really like, but we are anyway forced to tell you about it. We hope that the government comes to their senses and lift this discriminatory rule. Here it goes. Unvaccinated Filipino nationals can still enter, no matter the age. However, foreign nationals including former Filipinos who are unvaccinated are not permitted to enter the country, with exceptions on minor children. Fully vaccinated Filipino citizens and dual citizens will go home directly and just self-monitor for 7 days. Unvaccinated Filipino citizens and dual citizens can enter the Philippines, but will have to undergo facility-based quarantine for 5 days and home quarantine until day 14.
For Filipino minors who are 12 to 17 years old, the unvaccinated will have to undergo facility-based quarantine for 5 days. But they have to be accompanied by their parent or guardian. For Filipino minors who are 11 years and below, the unvaccinated will follow the protocol of the parent. If the parents are fully vaccinated, then regardless of the child's vaccination status, the child will also go directly home with the fully vaccinated parent. For foreign national minors who are 12 to 17 years old and traveling with a Filipino national parent, please take note of this because there is a different rule if the minor is not traveling with a Filipino parent, so keep this in mind. The unvaccinated will have to undergo facility-based quarantine for 5 days. But they have to be accompanied by their Filipino parent. For foreign national minors who are 11 years and below, the unvaccinated will follow the protocol of the parent.
If the parents are fully vaccinated, then regardless of the child's vaccination status, the child will also go directly home with the fully vaccinated Filipino parent. Now let's go to the foreign national category. Former Filipinos and all other foreign nationals, you need to be fully vaccinated, otherwise you will not be allowed to board your aircraft to the Philippines. That is also true for your minor child who is 12 years old and above. Well, that is really not good, especially because they did not give any consideration for those who are medically unable to get that vaccine shot. Your minor foreign national child who is 11 years old and below is exempted from this rule. They will follow your protocol.
So because you are only allowed to enter if you are fully vaccinated, your 11-year-old child and below will go directly home with you.
You can present any of the following. There are 3 different vaccination cards accepted in the Philippines. You can present any of these documents. Number 1 is the WHO yellow card. In mainland Europe, you simply go to your doctor and ask for this. For other countries, it may be difficult or it may not even exist. Number 2, if you are vaccinated in the Philippines, you can present your VaxCert PH. Number 3, your national or state digital certificate of the country or foreign government which has accepted VaxCert PH under a reciprocal arrangement. Here are the 39 countries with reciprocal arrangement as of February 10, 2022. For OFWs, if your country is not listed here, there is another provision in the IATF resolution. Other proofs of vaccination permitted by the IATF. If we go back to resolution number 146 from October last year, the IATF removed the POLA validation for OFWs. In replacement, the IATF simply permitted any vaccination card or certificates from overseas Filipino workers and their spouse, children and parents traveling with them. So it effectively means that for OFWs and their families, there is no need for reciprocity agreement, they can simply use whichever is their national vaccination certificate. That will be accepted. These are some of the examples. For non-OFWs and foreign nationals, if you are not traveling with an overseas Filipino worker or OFW spouse or parent or child, you can only use your national or state digital vaccination certificate only if your country has a mutual recognition or the so-called reciprocal arrangement with the Philippines VaxCert PH. It means that your country must also accept the vaccination certificates of Filipinos coming into your country.
Countries with reciprocal arrangement can use their digital or physical certificate in both international travel to the Philippines and also domestic travel within the Philippines.
Here are the 39 countries with reciprocal arrangement as of February 10, 2022. It includes Armenia, Australia, Austria, Bahrain, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Czech Republic, France, Georgia, Germany, Hong Kong, India, Iraq, Israel, Italy, Japan, Kazakhstan, Kuwait, Monaco, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Oman, Qatar, Samoa, Singapore, Slovenia, South Korea, Sri Lanka, Switzerland, Thailand, Timor-Leste, Tunisia, Turkey, United Arab Emirates, United Kingdom, United States of America, at Vietnam. The vaccine brand administered must be included in Philippines EUA or the WHO UL. This list includes the major vaccines used worldwide like Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Moderna, Janssen, and many more, so you don't really have to worry about this. Please note that if you are only considering to be vaccinated today, you must wait 14 full days before you are considered fully vaccinated. You must fly on the 15th day onwards if you want to skip the quarantine. If you fail to meet all these 3 requirements, you will be considered unvaccinated. Now clear the immigration, present all your documents. If you want to avail of the Balikbayan privilege, you have to tell the immigration officer. Now claim your luggage and clear the customs. Then time to go home for the fully vaccinated. For OFWs, the OWA program is still free for you and your family. For non-OFWs and foreign nationals, if you have coordinated with your LGU, then you'd know if you can take a private transport to your home destination and if your relatives can simply pick you up at the airport. Most of the time this is the case. When you arrive at your home, you are required to self-monitor for symptoms like fever, sore throat, and must report it immediately to your LGUs. For the unvaccinated OFWs, the OWA bus will take you to your free hotel. For the other unvaccinated Filipino nationals, you can book an accredited transport service at the airport. The day you arrived at the airport, even if you arrive in the night, that is your day 1. Remember that, because on day 5 you will have your swab test. For non-OFWs, you must ensure you receive a confirmation email from the testing facility, and verify that the hotel and day of swab information are correct. For OFWs, on day 5, you must call your hotel reception, just to double-check, and confirm that you will be swabbed on that day. After your swab, you can go again to the One Health Pass and track the swab test result. When you receive your result and it is negative, you must call the hotel reception and tell them that you want to go home already. Ask them to please print the quarantine certificate. Then after that, time to go home. By this time you should have checked if your destination city is restricted by going back to One Health Pass. Click the S-Pass icon and search for your final destination city. Then, for OFWs, you can avail of the OWA program. You can also ask your relatives to pick you up at the hotel if your LGU says yes. When you arrive at your home, you are required to complete your home quarantine until day 14. In the unfortunate event that your test result at the hotel is positive, you have to complete the isolation protocol of the Philippines, which can take from 10 days to 21 days, depending on how severe the infection is. Thanks for watching. If you find this information helpful, please like this video. We also appreciate your comments and feedback. Consider to subscribe to get to see more updates like these. See you on the next update and have a safe flight to the Philippines.